people talk about Paul McCartney being cloned, it's like, did they know when he was a baby in 1940 in Liverpool, we're going to need a second one of these lads, and let's get this one cooking, so then when we're ready, we can just, swap them out.
I'm sure most of you have heard at least one of the goofball conspiracy theories we're going to talk about today. The fun ones about nefarious forces secretly replacing famous people with clones. For this collaboration, I hung out with the boys of the podcast No Such Thing, a show where, in their own words, three best friends and journalists settle their dumb arguments and yours by actually doing the research. We'll learn about the different clone conspiracies and their origins, hear from an expert on the real science and ethical concerns behind cloning, and chat about where these outlandish tales fit into the larger infrastructure of American conspiracy theories. I'm your host, Chelsey Weber-Smith, and this is American Hysteria and No Such Thing.
I'm Manny.
I'm Noah.
It's Devin.
We're talking about clones, specifically celebrity clones, and how many of them there might be around us. We hear about these all the time. And this week we're joined by our special guest, Chelsey from American Hysteria. We're going to dive into it and kind of sort this out. Mandy, do you want to run us through a few clone theories you've heard?
Yeah, sure. I mean, essentially, pretty much every celebrity, when they lose a little bit of weight, there's a new conspiracy about them being a clone. So all of the kind of classic ones, you've got Britney Spears, clone conspiracies. You've got Jennifer Lopez, Jay-Z. One of my favorites, an under talked about clone conspiracy is Gucci Mane, the rapper. He went to jail for some horrible crime. I can't remember what it was. When he was released, he obviously was in much better shape, a lot less body fat percentage, you might say. And immediately people were like, wow, they cloned him while he was in there. And then they've got this new, better looking Gucci man. So I thought that was funny.
I remember with that one too, part of it too is, he came out, he had this new outlook on life.
Yes.
It was like the classic, I'm a bit more reformed now.
Yeah.
He seemed a little bit more chill in interviews, and they're like, that's not.
Yeah,
that's not
it can't be him.
No
Which, by the way, is a very common thing to happen when you're released from prison. Just have a different outlook on life to weigh a little bit less.
Especially for the first, couple weeks, at least.
Now, I think one of the more recent famous ones was Jamie Foxx.
Yes.
He got sick, I think, and lost a bunch of weight. And I don't know, people were really crazy about that one.
Well, especially because we didn't see him for a while.
Yes, he
disappeared.
disappeared.
And that's always, I feel like a key part of this cloning stuff that comes up over and over again. It's like if you don't see a public person in person for a bit, they think that's when the cloning stuff is happening.
Yes. I guess it's a very long process, according to the conspiracies.
And then you didn't mention one of my favorite new ones, because this is, I feel like a lot of these are kind of a little bit more dark web. But the one that I've seen that I've heard normal people talking about is the Melania.
Yeah.
Have you heard about this, Chelsey?
Yeah, I've definitely heard about this one. I don't know a ton about it, but I feel like that one is one where I'm like, maybe, maybe this could be this. She's got a clone vibe about some of the time.
Who am I to judge? Yeah, I definitely remember with that, people would do, side by side videos and being her nose looks totally different here, or her hand's doing this thing.
Yeah.
It's someone people that I would think are normal minded people.
Not conspiracy people.
Yeah.
And that one was a little bit, sometimes it's clones, but sometimes it's body doubles. So I think that was more the, that they were, she didn't want to participate in these events.
Yes.
And so they got an actress, I guess.
Yeah. They get lookalikes. It's funny because it's she's not really doing anything. It's it's just standing there, and they're I can tell by the way that the person's standing. That is not Melania. This is some other thing.
And you know who hasn't been mentioned yet is Avril Lavigne.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Because that was a really popular one for a while. She was replaced by, I think, someone named Melissa. I like that one because there was like a whole backstory to the clone. Or maybe it wasn't a clone. You know, this is what you're saying. There's like a lot of body double clone crossover. And I think
replacements.
that it kind of spins out.
I think Andrew WK also there's a really deep lore that. Do you know Andrew WK?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about him in a long time.
What's Party Hard? He's, he wears like the classic, just a white tee and gray sweatpants and long hair parties. I think he's married to Kat Dennings.
Wow.
Which congrats. But anyway, there's like all this really deep lore I remember reading about where like after 4 years or something, the Andrew WK project was replaced by some other guy. And like, I'm sure someone listening to this is going to know a lot more. This is like, we should talk to Panic World about this. I feel like this is like a whole series. There's some other guy named Steve Mike that I think was supposed to be the mastermind behind Andrew WK. And there's been multiple now throughout years. And I think part of it's to explain like difference in his music over time.
It's like 007 where like someone takes over for James Bond. Wow, that's incredible.
I like that.
Well, I'll link to something about that in the newsletter. But that's a good one. Now, so that's again clone adjacent. But
yeah.
And another one I'm thinking of too is, and this is like clone body double. I can't quite remember, but the one where Taylor Swift is the same person or was cloned from Anton LaVey, the famous Satanist's either daughter or someone that ran the Church of Satan. There's like a picture side by side that everyone should go and see.
I have to pull this up right now.
Yeah.
And it's like this woman from like the Satanic Panic era, like, she looks very witchy, and then it shows like side by side, and it is compelling. They do look very similar.
I got it now. Wow.
Right?
That actually, we'll make a video and we'll show this.
Yeah,
but
please.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Definitely some shared DNA.
Yeah.
To say the least.
That is kind of nuts.
The blonde hair.
Yeah, the eyebrows and the nose. All right, I'm convinced. I've seen enough.
Well, if you throw some Satanism in there, things are just going to really pop the fuck off. So, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm excited to learn a little bit about in this episode is like, I've heard these theories my whole life. No one has ever been like, and this is why they're a clone.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I can't wait to hear some of this.
Funny you mention that.
So, why don't we take this? And Devin's done some research into kind of the ins and outs of this whole world.
Yeah, the cloning industry.
Why don't you take us there?
So celebrity cloning really, at least the conversation around it really hit its peak in 2016. But a few years before that, we had our first, let's call him cloning whistleblower. All right. It's this guy named Donald Marshall. He's known on the dark web as the guy really bringing, let's say, eyeballs and attention to this issue of cloning because he, in fact, is a clone himself.
Oh, wow.
That's fun.
A man on the inside.
A man on the inside. So they're not happy that he's talking about this stuff.
It's brave.
As we'll find out. So in 2011, Donald wrote a Facebook post that really sort of blew up in these circles where he walks through some of the mechanics of the cloning world and what's happening. So let me read some of it, and then I want to play a bit of an interview that he did in 2013. So in 2011, he writes, "This is no hoax. This is no joke. My name is Donald Marshall. I have been cloned by a large secretive cult known as the Freemasons and the Vril Society and Scientologists together.
Oh, they collabed.
Okay.
Dang.
And this is called the Illuminati.
Oh, yeah. Heard of them.
Okay, yeah.
I've never heard of it.
They make replicated bodies of people to victimize in terrible ways. They clone children for men with underdeveloped penises to have sex with.
Whoa.
Some very famous and politically powerful people all getting together for a disgusting time. Most of the G20 gather there to discuss worldly matters and watch gruesome things done to innocent people for sport. I have seen this firsthand and will tell all as it must be stopped.
What year was this?
This was in 2011.
Wow.
Wow.
It's so funny with like the details of the conspiracy theory. Most of the G20, like some of them were not invited.
Not everyone.
Some opted out, yeah.
Not everyone is showing up, but most of the G20. And we're going to get some more specific names. So that was 2011. Okay. He starts to make the rounds. He starts appearing on a couple of podcasts. You know, this is around, you know, you got to think about shortly after this, we're getting Pizzagate. We're getting a lot of these conversations around people in, you know, in politics, especially being tied to pedophilia. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this comes up in Donald's story. So here's him on an appearance on a podcast, a conspiracy podcast in 2013.
It's Donald Marshall. Welcome to the program.
Hello. Thanks.
Why don't you tell us just a little bit of background about yourself for those who are unaware?
First, I wanted to tell you about the cloning stuff, okay? Now, human cloning, I have to tell you, it's been done since at the end of World War II, okay? I'll tell you how they got it and the whole shebang, like 33rd degree Freemason knowledge. I'm probably going to die for this somewhere along the lines.
It's me when I do a hot take on Twitter.
Okay. Picture this. I'm memory repressed about everything. Couldn't remember anything. I'm still getting side effects from this. I was memory repressed about the cloning stuff until I was 30 years old. They call it the awakening when they give you back the memories. Turns out they had me there since I was 5 years old. Okay. And my family is there, my family members and everything. And they said they're not going to lie on a lie detector test about it. It's pretty big. Like, they were going to kill me, they said. Thing is, the way that this cloning works, okay, there's two different kinds of cloning, and it confuses people. Now, there's replication cloning, where it comes up as a baby, right? Put the cells in, make the same person as a baby. Mm-hmm. Well, there's duplication cloning as well, where they grow you in a big, thick tank full of water. This is another crazy aspect of it. Okay, the thing is, with all the songs that I made at this place, and they were bringing me back every single night and saying, sing a song or we're going to torture you.
Okay, so some context here. He talks about basically the way, you know, a lot of people are tortured and at this place and taken advantage sexually. The thing that kind of saved him was his music ability. So he would sing a lot and write songs, and that he would entertain the people in the cloning facility, which is why he was spared from the worst of it. So that's some context going into this clip here.
Wow. Okay.
Next night, sing a song, we're going to torture you. Sometimes I couldn't think of anything, and they would just like stab me and watch me bleed there. And now they're all watching like it's a bizarre Faces of Death thing. And different people want to know what it's like to stab someone, so they send them up to stab me while I'm on drugs so I won't hit them or something. Wow. It's like that. It's very sick. And, well, I have to tell you, Queen Elizabeth is there.
Of course.
Stephen Harper, Canadian Prime Minister. Obama is there. Vladimir Putin is there. The Pope is even there.
All the big boys.
All kinds of heads of different factions of different things. The head of the Mexican drug cartel is there. Mafia in Italy is there. Man,
the Italian
everybody
mafia.
is there. It's like the rich guy's crazy.
They like sell milk now.
They'll never get caught, and you have to be real privileged to go there. Well, I don't want to go there, and I'm not privileged there. I'm pretty low on the totem pole there, actually, probably the lowest. So anyway, they all threatened me never to talk about it, and along as I've been divulging this stuff on Facebook. They've been bringing me there and threatening me and stuff, and then asking me not to mention them specifically, what they've done there and stuff, and panicking, really.
Okay. First thing I want to mention that I'm glad Donald brought up is kind of the baby clones versus the replication clones, because
that always confuses
this
me.
was always stopping me, because, you know, I was looking into the history, and there's, you know, people talk about Paul McCartney being cloned. It's like, well, that's great, but I mean, did they know when he was a baby in 1940 in Liverpool, we're going to need a second one of these lads, and let's get this one cooking, so then when we're ready, we can just, you know, swap them out.
Yeah.
So this is helpful that there's a way to, you know, do a full body clone in a thick tank of water to match, you know, whenever you need it.
It does help.
That was illuminating.
To understand their theories.
It does help.
Because that was the one that I was totally on board, but that was the one thing that always kind of got in the way of me accepting these.
But now that you know that, now you accept it.
This checks out. Yeah.
I think this would be a kind of good moment to like orient ourselves in this conspiracy era really quick, because I think we know, we talk about conspiracy theories all the time in the Trump era, but I was a conspiracy theorist during the late Bush, early Obama era. And don't worry, it didn't get too hairy or anything like that. But, my dad was like a prepper, kind of like an Illuminati guy. So I knew a lot about it, but it's just like, the clones, it's related to the reptilians. You guys remember that, right?
Yeah.
Like those videos of Obama blinking sideways.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Those were simpler times,
They were simpler times, and it was like all linked to the Illuminati, but it just like wasn't so overtly racist and so overtly like anti-Semitic as it would become, or it was, but you had to like dig really deep until you got to that shit.
Yeah, it was so niche. It didn't feel as bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember all of the like Jay-Z's like Rockefeller hand signal was this triangle. And like at a certain point there was the conspiracy theory snowballed to the extent where he like made a song about, he like denied the claims in a song. I don't know if you guys remember this.
No,
but that only made people believe it more.
Yeah, he's like, that's what you would say if you wanted us to believe.
Isn't that exactly what you would say?
I thought Donald's clip there was interesting about how he's kind of divulging all of this information, secret information, and the most powerful people in the world are just kind of like, please don't say this. Like instead of just
texting him,
killing
like,
him.
Hey,
Like
chill,
according to his
bro.
conspiracy, it's like, why would these people be so allowing?
Yeah, and looking into this, he is a major contradiction in his, quote unquote reporting, is that he says, these are the most powerful people. They do all these horrible things to everyone, but somehow they're keeping him alive and letting him talk about this stuff. Maybe because he's a clone himself. He said he was actually cloned from when babies are circumcised and the tissue at the hospital that's discarded. He said he's a clone from that tissue himself. So I don't know why he gets a pass. Despite being pretty loud online about what's happening behind closed doors. But I want to, we talked about Britney Spears already, but Donald says he actually has a connection to Britney Spears.
Okay.
In her clones. So Britney Spears, right before she drops Baby One More Time, so in 98, allegedly, she got into a really bad car crash with Justin Timberlake. And that is the moment in which she was cloned. And in Donald's telling, most of these celebrities who have clones, it's not just one clone. You got to have a few backups. So there's 5 or 6 or 7 clones. And Donald's telling, like, the reason why Britney has had so many ups and downs in her career is because these are different clones. These are actually different people that you're seeing. Some are a little bit more manic than others. But one of the clones in 2009 came to him and said, I need help writing a song. They end up writing Breaking the Ice together, where Britney brings in some clues about the fact that she is a clone. And then in the music video, it's an animated video. And in the video, Britney Spears goes to a clone lab where there's all these clones and blows it up.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Clones of her.
Just clones of her.
They're just like in tanks.
Clones lab. Yeah.
Okay,
they're in the tanks that Donald talks about, filled with water, developing.
I see.
Can you imagine how he felt when he saw that video?
Yeah.
Like, I've been telling everybody,
Just
look,
like, holy shit.
it's happening.
Well, conspiracy theorists love the idea that the masterminds are leaving behind clues for you to follow along.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a great stand-up bit about that.
Oh, yeah. What's his name?
Nick Mullen.
Nick Mullen,
yeah. It's like the CIA does this crazy things, and they're like, now we got to go back and leave clues. We wouldn't have gotten away with it.
More after this. And now, back to the show.
So I was curious, a lot of this is, over 10 years old now from Donald. So I was curious if he's still posting and talking about this stuff today. His Facebook is very active to the point where obviously we're recording this just a few days after finding out that Rob Reiner was killed along with his wife, and the leading suspect, who are in the cops right now, is their son. And Donald posted just last night, they went to the cloning center regularly. It's possible their son regained his memory about cloning after age 30 spontaneously, or they allowed him to remember and he got revenge for mistreatment there.
Oof.
So this is where we have this sort of it's funny, we're having a good time, and then real people's lives are, being affected, and he's sort of swooping in here and to sort of take advantage of the situation. And claiming that actually they kind of deserved it because of what they did to him. So this is where the conspiracy theories start to get a little icky for me.
Yeah, not as fun. Chelsey, I'm curious how this, you already kind of touched on how this compares to other things in the past, but I'm curious how this kind of matches up with other similar things. I feel like this echoes a lot of kind of alien abduction sorts of theories. I'm sure in your work, you've found tons of things like this. How does this kind of stack up generally?
Yeah, I mean, God, it's like there's so many things popping into my head as we're going along. One of them would be the history of alien abductions and how people go to therapists to recover memories of their alien abduction, right? So there's this memory thing, which is also satanic panic stuff, where it's like suddenly you recover this memory of being a child in a satanic cult that you had completely repressed. So it's like this memory coming back suddenly is a big part of conspiracy theory. And then it makes me think of MK Ultra, right? Where there's this government body controlling the most famous and powerful people for, name your reason, right? And I also, I go back to, like I said, the reptilians, this body swapping thing has been around a long time and continues to be around. And then I can look at someone like Tila Tequila. Do you guys remember Tila Tequila?
Extremely familiar.
Yes. Huge fan.
Yes.
At the time.
Yeah. I mean, I loved her on A Shot at Love. I really loved that show.
And then she had her own show too, right?
Maybe.
That was hers, right? Where she was the host.
A Shot at Love was.
Oh, that was hers.
A Shot at Love was, she was the one that it was the bisexual reality show where it was men and women vying for her love. Yeah. Great thing to revisit, everyone.
Great show when I was 13.
She went down the Illuminati pipe really hard, and I tracked that because of course it was fascinating to me. And she got into MK Ultra. She said that she was MK Ultra'd. She said she was cloned at one point, which is why I think it's relevant. But she did that classic pipeline into literally becoming a Nazi. You guys know this?
It's interesting.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Right. So she's kind of a great case of how you can start with these kinds of silly things. I mean, we know this now. We know the algorithm pushes us toward extremism, but things were we didn't have the same types of algorithms then. So it was more self-propelled, I think. And you could just start with maybe all the powerful people are reptiles. There are aliens. They are inhuman looking to me. So let's start from there. And then eventually you're in a Nazi uniform taking a photo shoot. It can happen.
It's wild.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, the reptilian thing, it's coming up a lot with the clone stuff, looking into a lot of these people that they're claiming are clones. There's, random videos where the person blinks in a certain way and they're they're glitching out.
Yeah.
One of the people who comes up time and time again with this stuff is Eminem. He's been famous for a long time now. Part of the conspiracy is people say, his voice has actually changed over his career. Early Slim Shady doesn't sound the same as it does
older
now.
Than he used to. Weird.
He sounds older.
He's aging every day.
He sounds about 20 years older than he used to.
Than he did about 20 years ago.
Interesting.
And then people will point to videos like this. So this is an interview between Eminem and Snoop Dogg.
Have y'all shot a video together before?
Nope. We was in a movie together, and the video was the Dre video. I'm representing for the gangsters. Wasn't you on the beach running on that video? Was I in that video? Yeah, you was running on the beach. That was like your debut album. I was? You was running on the beach with no clothes on. You was running on the beach with damn near no clothes on.
What the fuck? Yo, you gotta show me that shit.
Yo, you
I
was
don't
Slim
remember.
Shady, cuz. You was like crazy back then. Like real crazy. You don't remember that? Cuz you was running on the beach, cuz, in the video. What? I don't even. What? It was a bunch of girls around you, and all of a sudden.
Signed Eminem. He's triple platinum doing 50.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now I remember.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
So people are pointing to this video as, oh, obviously he doesn't remember because that a clone.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
It wasn't him. So
That's incredible.
So, even small moments of people being like, oh, I don't really remember that thing. People turn into, oh, okay, here's more proof.
Yeah.
That this person.
Which is funny because
is
in
a
the video,
clone.
he does end up remembering.
Yes. But it took him too long.
Yeah.
If you weren't a clone, you would have remembered that immediately.
Yeah, he had to like be triggered into remembering.
Exactly.
Manchurian Candidate type of thing.
He's like, oh yeah, this is my script. Yeah, I forgot.
He's like,
Thank you,
shoot,
Snoop.
I gotta pretend I do know because otherwise they're gonna know I'm a clone.
Him forgetting is so easy to believe too, because like in the music industry or like the rock world, you're kind of drunk all the time or doing all these drugs on these music video sets. It's not hard to believe that he would forget that.
Probably not the first or last thing he's filmed on a beach either.
Yeah.
Yeah. So later on, I want to talk about kind of why we broadly are so kind of attracted to these sorts of theories. But I also wanted to talk to someone who actually knows how cloning does work when it does happen among living beings, human or not. I talked to Hank Greeley from Stanford. He's the director of the Stanford Center for Law and the Biosciences and a professor by courtesy of genetics, as he says. All right. So we actually had a very long conversation. We went for probably an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Hank liked to talk, and I asked one question. I think it was about 20 minutes before he came up for air. So he's used to lecturing and is great at it. I'm only going to play a selection for us here, but we can elaborate down the line. I would love to tap in with Dr. Greeley again, but for the sake of this, I wanted to kind of focus in. So we all know about Dolly the sheep.
Yes.
In the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So this is a sheep that was famously cloned.
Mm-hmm.
Dolly is a clone. So I asked how, in that instance, how cloning is done. And Hank explained, rather than plaguing his bite, I'm just going to explain it here briefly. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer, but, go easy on me. So Dolly the sheep was a clone made in 1996 and kind of announced to the world in 1997 by the Roslin Institute in Scotland. And it was a very big deal. We all remember this.
Yeah.
At the time. I remember seeing, tabloid covers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, they did this. I was not that old at the time to really understand, but I was like, cool. I understood they made a clone.
Yeah.
That's all I got, really. So Hank explained that Dolly was made with a process called somatic cell nuclear transfer. Extremely simply put, they take an egg cell, remove the nucleus from it, and then with electricity, they fuse that cell with a somatic body cell, which is what contains DNA, to make a basically fertilized egg. And this took like thousands of tries to finally get it to take. Eventually it worked and the cell started dividing and growing. And then from there on, it's essentially the same process as we know with IVF. So then you insert it and then it's born like a normal baby. Mm-hmm. So Dolly was really important because before this, people didn't really think you could clone mammals. Frogs and other animals had been cloned before. And like people had tried with mice and rats and it never worked. And people weren't sure exactly why, but certainly something like a sheep has never happened before. Mm-hmm. And I'll play a little bit of this. There was a, major reaction to Dolly, not just excitement and like, wow, but, ethical concerns and like, what does this mean for humanity? So let me play a little bit from this.
The reaction to Dolly was startling. It was worldwide hysteria. We went from one cloned lamb to armies of cloned warrior slaves in headlines. There had been a book and a movie called The Boys from Brazil about an effort to clone Adolf Hitler. And I think part of the hysteria was, even though we should have known that this could happen, nobody had been paying attention. So the result of the hysteria was a bunch of laws around the world saying human cloning is illegal. California actually passed one of the first of those, although it made a nice distinction that later became pretty important in the US controversially, the distinction between reproductive cloning, cloning a human to make another baby, and research cloning or therapeutic cloning, cloning a human in order to make an embryo where you could take some cells from that embryo to use to treat the person who you had cloned. Because that way, if the cells have the same DNA as the person you cloned, that person's immune system won't attack them. It'll think accurately that it's the same person. So it kicked off a 6 to 10 year fight about embryo research, cloning embryos, and much of the cloning came down to, I mean, everybody agreed you shouldn't clone babies. Some thought it was just wrong, and others thought it's too dangerous. But there was a disagreement about whether you should be able to clone embryos.
So that's kind of the immediate aftermath of Dolly is, okay, what is this going to mean for us? Like, are we just going to make a bunch of humans? Is this just how the world is going to be, like overrun with clones and all this stuff? And, we get into a little bit more of the ethical concerns of, playing God in this way, as it were. But even there, he touched on kind of the actual therapeutic uses of cloning.
Yeah.
So anyway, we can get a little bit more into that and kind of the actual uses of quote unquote cloning. But these laws didn't scare everyone off. Some people went for it. So this is a pretty interesting little group called the Raelians. I don't know if you've heard of them, Chelsey.
I don't think I have.
Raelians. Okay.
No.
You might be able to do a couple episodes in this.
Okay, great.
Let me play this.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. For free. Yeah. All right. This is Hank talking about, other attempts at human cloning that followed in the aftermath of the birth of Dolly the sheep.
So after Dolly's birth is announced, it's front page headlines all over the world. Lots of different cries of outrage and legislation. But there were also there was a countercurrent. There were people who said, I'm going to clone myself, or I want to make a clone. One of them, particularly noteworthy, was a physicist named Richard Seed, S-E-E-D. I mean, sometimes fact is stranger than fiction. A guy named Seed who wants to clone himself. And he strongly resembled Doc Brown from the Back to the Future franchise. And he looked like a mad scientist. And he went on TV, and his brother ran an IVF clinic, so he was going to clone himself. There were 2 OBGYNs, one from Kentucky and one from, I believe, Greece, who also announced that they were going to do human cloning. And they actually claimed to have gotten a pregnancy started, although no one actually knows whether that was true or not. But the most interesting would-be cloners was a religious cult. I think I can call them a cult. I think they qualify as a cult. That's still around, called the Raelians. Raelians. There was a French race car driver, who was visited by aliens in a spaceship, who told him that they had seeded life on Earth millions of years before, and they had seeded humans, and they were our parents, our gods, and he should form a group that would acknowledge them and pass along their truths. And by the way, his new name was Rael. He apparently was a charismatic race car driver. And as is, I think, the case with many of these particularly unusual religious sects, he seems to have had a strong degree of sexual magnetism because his sect seemed to be made up mainly of attractive young women. But it was a flying saucer cult. They believed that there were these aliens who had started us, and the aliens wanted things for us to do. This had started, I think, in the 70s, years before Dolly. They actually had a theme park. Their headquarters was in Quebec. I think they've since sold the theme park, but they had a Raelian theme park.
Wow.
But once Dolly comes out, Rael says, oh, by the way, the aliens told me that it was our duty as Raelians to clone humans, because that's the next step in human evolution. So we're cloning humans. And here, by the way, is my very attractive young female head cloner, Brigitte de Boisonget, who is a biochemist, which has very little to do with the science behind cloning. But they set up a cloning lab, which was Brigitte in West Virginia. And they said their goal was to clone people. FDA then got involved and said, no, you need our permission to do that. So they said, well, we don't want to ask your permission. And they moved their lab to the Bahamas. And on, I don't remember now whether it was Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, but in, I think, 1999, the Realians announced that the first cloned baby had been born. Her name was Eve.
Of course.
But they weren't going to disclose any more information in order to protect her privacy.
Have some respect.
So maybe the first somatic cell nuclear transfer baby was born and is now, 25 years old? But I don't think anybody outside the Realians believes it. Eve has never appeared. There's never been any proof that she exists or that she's a clone.
Yeah, so I thought this was a pretty interesting group.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They sound like almost like the Heaven's Gate cult, where like the aliens are giving them instructions that they need to do, and then at the end of those instructions, they're supposed to commit suicide
and go away on the spaceship.
But the Raelians are still around, it sounds like.
Yeah, and I'd heard about them in some passing capacity before this. I didn't realize though that they had existed way before the clones, and then I like that. Their leader was like, read the news and was like, "Oh yeah, this is us actually." Yeah, and like
we're just gonna fold this in.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty smart,
Yeah, gotta stay in the headlines.
Yeah, exactly. So I need to check in on kind of where they're at now, and maybe Eve will come out one day.
Wow.
And there's more examples of people trying in different levels of kind of seriousness. There's a South Korean scientist who claimed to have succeeded and was really revered in Korea, and they made postage stamps with his face on it and stuff, and then he was debunked as a fraud. But that person does have a successful pet cloning business today. So pet cloning we know does happen. Barbara Streisand, I think Tom Brady recently
Tom Brady came out recently,
announced this.
He's invested in his he cloned his dog, right? But he's also invested in the company.
Okay. Yeah. And then, and then I talked to Dr. Grilly about all this stuff too, but you see all these stories about, cloning, mammoths or the dire wolves.
Yes.
And we get pretty deep into that too. Maybe I can play a little bit, but the issue, and this kind of speaks to the ethics especially when we're talking about humans, is it's very mysterious and there's a lot of loss when you're doing these. So a lot of dogs are dying when they're cloning these pets.
So
it's like, because there's kind of these source dogs that they're using, and it's kind of, they're unclear about the numbers, but when you look into it, there's a really good New Yorker article earlier this year that I'll link to as well, where it's like they're talking about it, and it's like, they're very vague about it because it's probably like 30 dogs dying to make your one clone that lives. It's pretty, pretty
these
sad.
Pet cloning businesses, is it the same kind of cloning as Dolly?
I'll check, but I think it's a pretty similar process where it's basically, you have kind of these cell lines that you can keep alive for, generations essentially. And then you kind of grab from that and then mix it with new ones and then kind of mix it together. But so, the Raelians, fascinating. And, it's interesting. There's always going to be some people who, whenever some big thing happens, is going to be like, all right, we're going to do this, but in a bigger, more, more important way. In 2013, someone was able to clone human embryos. But as Dr. Grilly explained to me, other developments like kind of different stem cell research in fibroblasts, which is kind of what our boy Donald is talking about. We're grabbing like the cells from the foreskin, et cetera. For these kind of therapeutic uses, in more legitimate uses. That kind of took the pressure off the cloning question. So, the science world at large kind of focused on this kind of research because it's not as clouded with like, okay, you're trying to make a whole different race of people or like, it's like, okay, we're doing this purely for, these purposes of more medicinal sorts of things.
And embryonic cloning is essentially making a twin, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
exactly. Okay. So Hank explained, like, if you kind of look at it as, we are all clones essentially, as far as the process. So it's a matter of just doing it kind of out of exactly. And then like identical twins are naturally clones. Because it's just a matter of the cell splitting at the right time and then two humans developing at the same time. That's basically the process that these people have been trying to just do,
artificially.
Exactly.
So I see. So that makes a lot more sense. It's like cloning at the birth stage, so to speak, or the conception stage, versus what a lot of these conspiracy theories are, which is that today you could clone me and then like I would grow at an accelerated rate in a tank or something and then come out like 2 weeks later.
Well, yeah, because again, and I mentioned this before, but yeah, I was like, well, the problem with cloning, if you were trying to swap the person, would be you need to do it when they're born and have the backup. Because I was like, okay, well, Paul McCartney or something, well, there's some level of, musical talent or something that is probably genetic. But a lot of it is probably circumstance and obviously being around the right people. So it'd be very difficult, or I wouldn't put my money on being able to remake Paul McCartney and hope that he's going to be as successful now.
It is interesting. Like William Shatner, this is so random, was like the host of a kind of an Unsolved Mysteries type show that's on Netflix now. And they did an episode about twins, and they interviewed these two twins who were separated at birth. And the like similarities between their lives were just so insanely deep. Like that they bought the same make and model car, the year of the car, that their wives had the same names. It's like, and now a lot of it probably is coincidence, but like, I wonder with the Paul McCartney example, like maybe if they cloned him and he grew up in America instead, he would still be like a number one artist, but with an American style music or something. I don't know.
I mean, it's, it's a great what if, I suppose.
More after this. And now back to the show.
I feel like when I was a kid, because when Dolly happened, I would have been like 7, 8 years old. And in my mind, it was definitely like they put the sheep in the machine.
That's
and
what
then two sheep came out of the machine, right? Like that was the cartoon version. I feel like The Simpsons did it a bunch of times.
For sure.
Cloned Bart, and it was just like a million clones would pop out of the machine. And I think I thought that was what cloning was for a very long time. I did not know. And this just makes so much sense. It's like so much less mysterious when you are talking about just the very basic science of it. It's still incredible and amazing. But it's like, okay, I get that a lot more than some kind of special plasma machine that you go into.
Like a 3D printer, essentially.
Exactly.
And I asked like why haven't, aside from now, obviously there's laws and all these things, but like, is there something about humans that makes it so difficult to clone us? And he said kind of how before Dolly, they were like, maybe mammals can't be cloned, just too complicated for whatever reason. We can't find the right combo. That seems to be also a lot of it with humans, where it's like, one, we don't want to necessarily go so far, so we're not going to push it, or we can't legally. And also it's a matter of like, again, the cost would be so high, the cost not being money, but just like you might make a lot of really messed up people who won't survive or anything else, and that brings up a whole other host of questions. Naturally,
what if you're killing 30 babies?
Exactly. So it's one thing we can
dog analysis.
Animals, it's one thing, but then it's like no one really wants to talk about this especially when it's humans, let alone with animals. Like there's a reason all the pet cloning thing is so secretive too.
Really behind closed doors.
Extremely expensive, as I understand. And even when we're talking about bringing back kind of the Jurassic Park thing, or these woolly mammoths they're trying to bring back, it's still not quite the same because of the different historical things that kind of bring those animals about. This new direwolf looks like one, but it probably behaves completely differently than the ones.
And I guess in the pet cloning business, is that effectively they're creating a twin of your dog? So it would be as if the dog had a twin.
Okay. So then Barbara Streisand or whoever will be like, oh yeah, it's just like the same thing. And if you have the same puppy in your mansion the same way, it's probably going to act pretty similar. But it's not the same.
It's like a dog. It's like bark and.
But this was a big, people forget about this B plot in the latest season of The Rehearsal.
Oh yeah,
where Nathan Fielder has these people who clone their dog. But the dog is acting not like their previous dog, because this new dog didn't grow up in the same circumstances. Didn't grow up around, I think it was around a cat, right? That was a big thing. And they were so confused. They're like, it's a clone, but it acts nothing like the old dog. And he kind of took the new dog and tried to put it in an environment that was more similar to the old dog to see if it would pick up some of those traits.
Wow.
You forgot, it's flying a plane. You forget about that stuff.
I feel like people are really playing with fire because a lot of times these clones turn out to be evil, as far as I've heard in popular
the risk
culture.
might not be worth it.
No.
Let me play one more clip on kind of the ethical concerns from Hank, and then let's wrap up and kind of talk about why we are so fascinated by this.
Great.
Cool.
So the ethical concerns around human cloning really fall into probably two different buckets. One is a more absolute view. It's not something humans should do. It's something man was not intended to do. We shouldn't mess with ourselves in this way. This is not God's will. Interestingly, this is one of those areas where the political spectrum is a circle. So you've got conservatives who say it's not God's will. You've got ultra-liberals who say, well, it's not natural. It's not evolution's will. It's not Darwin's will, which shows a misunderstanding of evolution and Darwin, but it's certainly not natural, at least not in humans, not in mammals. So you've got that sort of visceral reaction that this is just not right. This is not the way we should make people. This is unnatural, unholy, wrong. Add to that the fact that you're manipulating human embryos, and you're going to end up killing a lot of human embryos.
Right.
In the research or with leftover embryos. And that is viewed by many people as murdering babies. Not by a majority of the country, but a substantial chunk of the country. And several states think that destroying embryos is murdering babies. Under federal law, you have not, since the early Clinton administration, been able to use federal research funding to do research that it destroys embryos. You can do the research legally. It's not illegal, but you can't use federal money for it because of these moral concerns about the status of the embryo. So that's one set of concerns. And those would say, no, it's just wrong. It doesn't matter. There's no two ways about it.
So, there you get a taste of kind of lots of the questions building around this and kind of why overall it's been basically shut down as a thing.
Yeah.
All to say is, as far as we know, there have been no grown human clones to debunk,
Yeah.
You guys can calm down. Devin, I don't know if you're convinced yet, but maybe I'll hook you up with Hank and you guys can chat it out.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I would be shocked if there were human clones, but they wouldn't tell us if there were.
Well, exactly.
No,
of
they
course.
would not.
Stanford is obviously, bought off by a big clone.
Oh yeah,
G20.
Exactly.
But essentially the technology is possible. There would be like kind of a wake of dead versions. Before you got to the viable clone.
Yeah.
I think there's a pathway.
Yeah. Like it's if basically all the governments were like, we're going to do this and whatever, it seems like it's possible. It's a matter of resources and the ethical side of that. But so it's not impossible.
Yeah.
It just definitely hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Okay.
At least in public.
So there hasn't, to our knowledge, been a cloned human that has then grown up. But it seems like the technology is possible. It's a thing that could happen if there were not so many hurdles or obstacles. Not that I think those hurdles or obstacles shouldn't be there, but like it seems like they could essentially do this if they wanted to. They being like the world's leading scientists.
Yeah, I don't think it's something that's impossible. Just like the same way they thought maybe the sheep couldn't be cloned and then was. It's a matter of a lot of trial. But yeah, it seems like that same process, I think, in theory, would work for humans.
So then for the conspiracy theorists who believe this stuff, that's an easy leap to make. It's like, okay, someone is cloning somewhere and it's just a secret. Originally, at the beginning of this episode, I thought it wasn't even possible to do it for humans. So I could see kind of where the conspiracy theorists are coming from. Of course, I don't agree or believe that, but yeah, the technology, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell.
Just to represent the conspiracy theorists. No, I'm just kidding.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I mean, doing all this and thinking about it in both the kind of moral red lines and otherwise, you wonder kind of why these are such reoccurring tropes. We're talking about much more recent history. 2016 is a kind of peak, but also obviously you go back, 50 years more and people are talking about this and it's kind of a recurring thing. And I wonder why that is. Do you guys have any theories on kind of what draws us to this idea of cloning?
I would think that one thing at least would be like, for example, I remember when people were saying Kanye West was cloned, and that was in like 2023. And it does feel like this like Cope kind of thing where it's like, okay, he did a bunch of shit that I didn't think he would do, and so what's an easy explanation? He's the evil clone of himself, you know. And so I think that there's this very easy way to, whether it be like a doppelganger or it be even a reptilian, but like this body swap idea where you can just say, if someone I like is doing something I don't like, or someone I don't like is doing something good, well, that's actually still evil because they have these evil intentions. So it's like this really easy way to like morph the person who is in your crosshairs for whatever reason into either being good or bad based on what you want.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of just like being possessed by the devil or some demon or something. Totally. Really, I mean, in just a religious sense of like you're doing this wrong because you're being tempted by something else, and essentially that's what the clone is doing, or whoever is making the clone and swapping out these people or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I would also say that, like many other conspiracy theories, I feel like so many of them are rooted in just a massive kind of distrust for governments or institutions, and then it just becomes so easy for you to believe that some incredibly nefarious stuff is going on if you already don't trust like those kind of organizations, if that makes sense.
It brings some, I would say, order. Like it's like, you know, people are complex. Like, you know, Chelsea's talking about the Kanye example. I saw the opposite of like, now that Kanye's going on this, you know, like Jewish apology tour where he's like
now he's
a little bit more chill, and now people are saying, oh, now this is actually the clone.
Right? The real one would never bow down like this
and do this and go back
and
on
you
their
can choose
word.
which one of those two you want.
Right.
Exactly.
It is a nice little kind of
for
workshop
everyone, and it gives order to a thing that's like kind of confusing, doesn't really make sense. You don't have a lot of context for, right? These people aren't spending time with Kanye, they aren't spending time with these politicians. They don't understand why horrible things are happening in the world, and it's easy to be like, oh, it's clones. You know, it's clones. These people are evil. This is all a conspiracy. It seems like there's no order to it, and it seems like the world is just so unpredictable. But behind the scenes, there's so much order to it, and like the world is predestined to be this way because these people are pulling the puppet strings behind, you know, closed doors.
I mean, it really is just the perfect example of like every conspiracy theory of things are not what they seem, right? It's just like a perfect one-to-one of the heart of conspiracy theory. And I think that's why it endures too.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will endure. And I'm sure in 30 years, people will be sitting around podcasting about, you know, the next round of clones will be replaced probably soon.
Oh yeah, our clones,
you know, if we do a little,
here.
if our podcast gets a little more popular, they're changing us out.
Big time.
Easily.
Kaleidoscope fires us, but they've been growing clones the whole time.
Would we know we were the clones?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
We have to give like a code word or some sort of signal that if you ask us this and we don't respond in the right way, that's how you know it's the clone.
It's that thing where, the person's like pointing the gun or the laser and being like, who is it? Which one? Like, is it this one or this one? Who do I shoot? Say the right thing. Say the secret thing.
Because in modern day cloning capabilities, the clone would not have the memories of the original.
No.
Right?
Yeah. That's what it is.
They have to study up.
That's the key.
They're going to be listening to all these podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, all right, this is his stance on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like Eminem.
Any other thoughts on cloning?
Well, now I'm going to go back and watch Star Wars Episode 2 to figure out if the clones in that movie are the ones that grow from birth or if they're just like copied replicas. Do you remember this? The Attack of the Clones?
It's been.
This has.
I remember the name.
Now, I don't think. Yeah.
Almost nothing to do with this episode, but now I'm just curious what kinds of clones they were. Now that I know a little bit more about them,
it's copies, right?
I don't know because there's like Boba Fett is a child, and some of the stories, But anyway,
you'll have to report back.
I've seen the Hitler clone movie that he mentioned, The Boys from Brazil. And I want to revisit because I'm wondering what, Hitler was one man. I don't really know, even if you agree with his views, I don't know that you need so many of them running. Like,
yeah, it seems like
I don't know what the point of having 1,000 of them running around.
Like
when you kind of need one centralized
damage.
figure to do this, but I'll revisit and see kind of what the thought is there.
Yeah. This was American Hysteria and No Such Thing. Make sure you follow their show wherever you get your podcasts. We want to send our love, our support, and our solidarity to those of you out in Minneapolis fighting against these fascists. Fuck ICE, and we are so incredibly proud of all of your unabashed courage. Please be safe and know that we're with you. If you want to support our show, make sure we can continue making it and get ad-free episodes and bonus content, you can go to patreon.com/American Hysteria or subscribe on Apple Plus. If you go to AmericanHysteria.com, you can leave us a message on the Urban Legends hotline about a tale that you remember from growing up or one you've heard recently, and we might do an entire investigation about it. You can also pick up some of our merch. 100% of those profits go to the Samir Project, a Palestinian-led mutual aid group who are on the ground in Gaza delivering food and supplies. American Hysteria's producer and editor is Miranda Zickler. Our associate producer is Riley Swedelius-Smith. This episode has additional editing by Kaylee Jasperson. And I'm your host, Chelsey Weber-Smith. Thanks, as always, for listening, and I hope you have as good of a week as is possible right now.